All right, so welcome to our last lesson of trigonometry. And this actually happens to be a throwback to Algebra 2. So just to refresh your memory a little bit, so this is our do now. So y equals x squared is going to be 0, right? And then I square 0, that's still 0. 1 squared, 1 times 1 is 1. When I multiply 2 by itself, I get 4. So I'm going to get something that looks like this on the right side. You can do better than I did. Negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. Negative 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. I was positive 4, my bad. So you're going to get something that looks like this, right? So that is the graph of y equals x squared. Now, if I have y equals x squared plus 3, right? Notice this right here. We're going to see that there is going to be a vertical shift, which means that this point, the minimum point or the vertex, is going to be moved up 3 because it's plus 3. So your new graph is going to look something like this. It's going to get shifted up, okay? And so this is exactly what you think. It's plus 3, so it's going to move up 3. This next one right here, if I take a look at the original, so our original is again y equals x squared, right? We did that 1, 1, 2, 4, negative 1, negative 1, negative 2, positive 4. So I'm going to, okay, look at me doing a little bit better, okay? So that's our original graph, okay? And then our new graph, right? So this is called the parent graph, the one that we just did. Our new graph is, look where the plus 3 is now. It's inside the parentheses. So this indicates that there is a horizontal shift. And the way that I remember it is to make parentheses, you have to go left and right. And this actually is the opposite of what you think. OPP of what you think. So you would think plus 3 means you're moving to the right 3. It's actually not. It's moving to the left 3. So what do I mean? This point right here is moving to the left over 3. Okay? So every point is going to be doing that. And if you did not know how to graph it yourself, you can just go to your calculator here and you could plug it in, right? Y equals x plus 3, right? The x plus 3 is in parentheses. You're going to square it. And then you're going to go to your table. So 0, 9, that's all the way up on the graph. If I go over here, I have negative 1, 4. So I'm going to go negative 1, positive 4 and put a dot. And you can see, right? This is, if you can see, it's 3 points away from the other line. So you're going to have something that looks like this. Okay. So it's going to get shifted over 3. All right. So this is just a review. So if it's in parentheses, it's going to be a horizontal shift. And this is the opposite of what you think. If it's hanging off at the end, it is a vertical shift and it is exactly what you think. The A is going to be the how tall. And if there is a negative sign in front of it, it's going to get reflected over the x-axis. You should write that down. Reflected over the x-axis. So when we do a couple of delta math problems, you're going to be able to understand this a little bit better, okay? All right, so let's answer some questions. Let's go brown. Why not? So we have our original function, which is f of x is equal to sine of x. And let's see what happens here, right? So if it's plus 10, this is not in parentheses. That means it's going to get shifted just up 10. Okay. If it's minus 7, again, it's not in parentheses, so this is going to be shifted down 7. Do you see that? We're giving direction and quantity, how much. This is in parentheses, so this is going to be shifted to the, and it's opposite of what you think. So you think it's to the left 3, it's actually to the right 3. And also, look, this plus 2 means it's going to go up 2. So right 3 and up 2. This is in parentheses, so it's going to be the opposite of what you think, left or right. So you think it's to the right 3, it's actually moving to the left 3, and minus 1 is down 1. And over here, let's talk, there's 3 things happening, okay? So I see a negative sign here, which means it's getting reflected over the x-axis. My x is out of my life, right? My x is out of my life. All right. Then I have plus 7 right here in parentheses. So you'd think this is left or right. Okay. You'd think it's right 7, but it's really left 7. So that's another thing that's happening. And this minus 4 right here indicates that it's moving down 4. Okay. So those are the different things that's happening to the graph. And I'll show you a couple of delta math questions. The The first one you're going to see is something like this. It says graph the equation shown by transforming. So x minus 4, this is under the radical. So this indicates left or right, which means we are moving to the right 4. It's the opposite of what you think, right? So I'm going to take our point and I'm going to move it to the right 4. And then I'm going to go down and hit submit answer. And notice it's correct, okay? So you could try a couple of problems like that. I'm going to do a level 2 question, so translate functions. So if you take a look, it's x minus 2 in parentheses, which means by moving to the right 2. So I'm going to move this to the right over 2, okay? And then the plus 3 outside the parentheses means it's moving 3 where? Up, right? So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to go down. I'm going to submit my answer, and boom, it's correct, okay? All right, the next thing we're going to do is writing translated functions, okay, level 1. So we have our graph, which is negative x squared, and it says write the equation of a function g of x that would shift the graph f of x up 6. So I'm going to write negative, it's still x squared, so x squared, okay, to the second power. Okay. And then if I'm shifting it up 6, all I have to do is put plus 6, right? Because it's going up and that's going to be hanging at the end. I'm going to hit enter and I get it correct. Okay. Now I have the same thing except this is level 2. So writing the translated function level 2. So I have a graph and we're shifting it to the left 1 unit and up 2 units. Okay. So it's still going to be negative. But now since I'm shifting it left or right, I'm putting parentheses. So it's going to be shifted to the left 1. So I'm going to do x. And then left means that it's going to be plus 1. I'm going to close those parentheses. I'm going to raise this baby to the third power. And then it says and up 2 units. So this is going to be plus 2 because it's going up 2. Okay. Let's go ahead and check our work. Make sure we're good. And we are. Okay. So the next thing we're doing is reflecting functions. All right. So if you notice, the negative sign is within the parentheses, which means it's going to get shifted over the y-axis. So that means that it's going to look exactly how it is, right? This, if I take it and flip it over the y, it's going to be exactly the same. Let's go ahead and do another one. This is also, right? It's the negative sign is inside that absolute value. This is also going to be exactly the same thing. Let's do another one. Okay. So I have, it says graph. So it says graph the equation by transforming the given graph of the parent function. So we have our parent function here, and then there's a negative sign on the outside, which means that it's going to get reflected over the x-axis. So this is just going to literally just get flipped. Do you see what I just did? It's going to get flipped along the x-axis. So I'm going to hit submit. Right? And let's do one more. Negative sign. Okay. It's on the outside, right? So that's going to get reflected over my x-axis. So I'm going to take 0, 0 is going to stay. I'm going to take this and I'm going to literally just drop it down. Okay. So literally getting reflected over the x-axis. I think you get the point. All right. Next thing. Next one that we're doing is called transforming functions mixed level 1. So I see the negative sign on the outside, which means automatically I'm going to flip it on the x-axis. My x is out of my life, right? And then I also see this -5, and it's not in the radical. So this is going to get shifted down 5. So I'm going to go like this, down 5. And then I'm going to hit submit. Okay, good. And then try a couple of problems like that. Okay, so the next one is writing transformed functions level 1. So this is getting reflected over the x-axis, which means that it's going to have a negative sign in front of whatever the function is, which the parent function is 3x to the third. So I'm just going to write 3x to the third, and there should just be a negative because it's just getting reflected over the x. Okay, let's do one more. It's getting compressed vertically by a factor of 1/3. So this one is getting, it says vertically by a scale factor of 1/3. So you see the original function is 1 over x. So you're going to put a one third on the function, so it's going to be 1 over 3x. If this one confuses you, no worries. This is not a big deal about the stretching in the horizontal. So just so you know, I took that last one out. But anyway, the last one you're going to do on this end is transformations of functions. So the solid black graph, we're going to see what's happening to it. So what I do for this question is I look at, you see the point 0, 1. So 0, 1 is or the on the black graph, and I'm going to look and see what happens to that point. So I see it's getting shifted up 1. So automatically I know it's either going to be choice 1 or the one below it, because they both have a +1 in it. And it's also getting shifted to the left 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. It's going up and then left. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So since it's getting shifted to the left 4, I know it's going to be x plus 4 because the opposite of what you think. And I'm going to hit submit answer. All right, I had to think for that one, so let me just go ahead and do one more. So automatically I see a graph, and so I'm going from my black line to my dotted. I can see that it's automatically getting reflected over the y-axis. So that means that it's going to be either the bottom one here, or the two bottom ones can be either one of these. So it's getting reflected over the y-axis, which means it's right. The negative is on the inside of the function. And then after that, it's also getting shifted down 1. So that's going to be right here, right? -1 is on the outside. So I'm going to submit. Okay, let's go ahead and do one more just to get you solid on this. Automatically, I see it's reflected over the x-axis, which means it's either going to be, the negative sign is going to be on the outside. It's going to be either one of those two. And it's getting shifted to the right 3, which means it's going to be x minus 3. Okay. All right. So try a couple of these problems. Let me know if you need help.